Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Marius and I'm a historical reenactor. We're not going to talk about the chalk on my sweater. Also, what's it been, a week since I last posted? This could be a record for me. Now, by far my most viewed video on YouTube has been my 18th century shirt tutorial, and it is rough. I know my content still has a long way to go, but the editing, the sound mixing, the thumbnail... So this is going to be a sort of shirt tutorial 2.0. If you've seen one of those blousy poet pirate shirts on Pinterest and fallen in love with it, or if you've been watching too much Bridgerton, or if you've been daydreaming about recreating that one lake scene with Colin Firth as Mr. Darcy once you've got top surgery done, this is the video for you. Now this shirt is for a lower class impression, so I'm using an unbleached linen from Burnley and Trowbridge. If you're doing a posh upper class impression, you'll want a bleached white linen and maybe some ruffles. And if you're portraying a sailor or working man in the New World, you can go with a nice checked linen like the one from my first video. All my materials are linked in the description, but we'll also need matching linen thread, pins and needles, a chunk of beeswax, and scissors. 18th century shirts were pretty simple garments made up of triangles or rectangles, so we're not really going to need a pattern. I'll draw the pieces out for you and talk you through them. First off, we've got the main body of your shirt. This should be long enough to reach down to your thighs, and as wide as half your chest circumference plus a fair amount. It should be pretty loose and billowy, like those Pinterest pirate shirts. Then I'm going to mark a point 20 centimeters from both edges along the center line. Connect those up to draw the neck slit, and then draw another 20 centimeter slit down perpendicular from the center of the slit. You should now have a T shape in the middle of your shirt body. That's going to be our neck opening and front slit. We're going to cut along that T. Now I'm going to put a narrow hem on the chest slit, the stem of the T. That leaves an awkward little bit at the bottom of the slit, so let's buttonhole stitch over it. After that, we'll reinforce it. I've seen some very elaborate neck slits on Pennsylvania Dutch shirts that almost look like needle lace, and I've been meaning to have a go at them, but today we'll just do a basic bar tack. Next up are the neck gussets. Mine will be about 8 centimeters by 8 centimeters. I've had a lot of questions about these, and unfortunately I didn't get enough shots of the neck gussets to explain them very well. Instead, I managed to use the side gussets to do a little demo, so I hope that helps a bit. Basically, we've got a straight slit in the fabric. Here in the demo, it's the side slits in the bottom of the shirt. For the neck gussets, it's the T-shaped slit we cut as a neck opening. We've also got a square gusset. The side gusset is a bit smaller than the neck ones. The idea is that we're inserting this square gusset into a straight slit. The gusset is going to get folded in half eventually, so it's going to be easier to visualize this as a triangle inserted into a straight slit. Now when we're working on the neck, we're going to attach one side of the triangle to each side of the slit with a little overlap. Then we're going to whip stitch that down. Once that's in place, we're going to fold the other side of the gusset down and whip stitch it to the inside of the shirt to cover up all the raw edges. Finally, we're going to reinforce everything with a back stitch. This is how your neck opening should look with the gussets in place. And now we're moving on to the shoulder reinforcers, which are apparently the bane of all of your existences. They'll be pretty narrow, but they should run from the neck slit all the way to the edge of the shirt. Mine were about 28 centimeters by 6 centimeters. I honestly struggle with these a bit myself, but I recommend pinning them down the center first and then pinning the sides as flat and tidy as you can. They're never going to be entirely perfect. We're going to backstitch them in place along both sides. I've had some people ask me if they need to include these. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend skipping them. They reinforce a high-stress area, and without them, your shirt just won't hold up to much wear. Now for the collar. I've cut a piece, which is 43 centimeters by 14 centimeters, long enough to wrap around my neck and overlap just a little. We're going to prepare it to be sewn on by turning under all the seam allowances and folding it in half lengthwise. Next, we'll whip stitch the sides shut, wrong sides together. Then, we're going to gather the neckline of the shirt to fit with 2 parallel running stitches excluding the gussets. Those don't get gathered. Let's pin on the collar and whip stitch it down on both sides. Burnley and Trowbridge have a great video about these kinds of gathers, and I'll link it below. Now for the sleeves. Mine are 55 centimeters by 50 centimeters, pretty wide and flowy. We're going to cut 2 big rectangles for the sleeves and 2 small 8 centimeter by 8 centimeter gussets for the underarm. The sleeves get folded in half and sewn along one side with the gusset inserted at one end. Here's what your sleeve should look like with the gusset in place. We're also going to leave a 10 centimeter slit at the other end where the cuff will be attached. Then I'm flat felling the seams, hemming the slit, and attaching the cuffs in the same way as the collar. The only difference is the size. My cuffs are 21 centimeters by 5 centimeters. I didn't beef it this time, thank you very much. Now we fold the body in half and mark one point 22 centimeters down from the top, and 1.10 centimeters up from the bottom. Then we sew the side of the body up, which means more backstitching. I'm going to pin the gusset, ungathered, into the arm's eye, and gather the rest of the sleeve to fit, and then I'm going to backstitch it in. There should be some pretty funky raw edges, but we'll fix those later. Sadly, I didn't get videos of this part of the process because I was on a Zoom call with my reenactment regiment at the time. We're nearly there. Let's flat fell the side seams, and then cut 2 final pattern pieces which go around the shoulders. Mine were pretty large last time, but I've seen lots of people cut them narrower, so we'll make them 44 centimeters by 6 centimeters this time. See all those awkward raw gathered edges when we flip the shirt inside out? We're going to pin this piece around the arm's eye to encase them and cover the raw edges. This gets whip stitched into place. The tail gussets get set into the side slit. I pinned these in right sides together and sewed them in place, and then I folded the other side down and whip stitched it. Finally, some finishing touches. Let's hem the shirt with a narrow hem. Then we need some embroidered initials and a number just below the chest slit in linen. I did this pretty early on, but I didn't like how it looked, so I redid it. The collar gets 2 buttonholes, and the wristbands get a buttonhole each. Finally, we'll make 4 thread buttons and attach 2 to the collar and 1 to each cuff. For a classier shirt, you'll want to make a buttonhole on either side of the cuffs instead, so that they close with cufflinks. So there we go. Here's our updated 18th century shirt tutorial. I'm really excited to wear this one out a bit. I think it'll look really cool once it's worn and mended. Add a bit of character, you know? Until next time, you can find my Instagram and my Ko-Fi in the description in case you'd like to keep up with my projects or help support this channel. My friend told me last week that I've been pronouncing Ko-Fi wrong, and I've really been overthinking it. Anyway, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, stay safe and see you soon.